Politics is what we do. We just make it funky.
Funky fresh with my body so melodic. This beat rolls right through my chest. Everybody, Martin, Poppy came to party.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network. I am DC, sitting along here with my Funknominal. I'm gonna call you the Funknominal co-host.
We usually only use that for the women, man.
Well, I have a motive behind it, but anyway.
Anyway.
My funky co-host Doc Ward.
Yeah.
Doc, what's up?
Nothing, man. I'm just fighting this war against principalities and realities and straight causing fatalities to abnormalities.
Wow.
That's how I do it, man.
You know what? We have got visiting with us on Funky Politics today, Corey Pegues. Corey is an author of Once a Cop, a retired.
Because once he was a cop.
Yeah, once he was a cop.
Yeah.
Retired inspector. Maybe
I shouldn't say anything about fatalities.
Yeah, wow. How'd you do that? Retired inspector with the New York Police Department and a world renowned
author.
Speaker on the circuit.
Motivational speaker.
Yeah.
Someone that's a motivational speaker with a story.
Yeah, with
a real story. With a real story.
Brother Pegues, welcome to Funky Politics, Doc. Welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me. I'm happy to be on.
And we're happy to have you right here from the N.Y.C. And when we knew you were coming, man, I mean, I remember looking at, or at least listening to your story with the late, great, as they call him, the pod father, Combat Jack. And you're talking about your background and where you come from and just all of what your experience has been now. And I just thought it was absolutely wonderful. But, I mean, a really phenomenal story. I didn't know if everybody in this side of town where we are, this side of the country, really knew about it. So can you just go back and just tell us a little bit about your background before you became NYPD Blue, and then after you became, just a little background so people can know who we're talking to, the real Corey Pegues.
Yeah, again, rest in peace, Reggie Ose, a.k.a. Yes. Combat Jack, very good friend of mine. Right. So my name is Corey Pegues. I grew up in a family of 5 sisters and myself. About the age of 13, I gravitated out to the streets and started selling marijuana. Graduated from there to masculine tabs, loose cocaine, and then around 84, 85, this wonder drug named crack cocaine hit, and I got involved in selling crack for one of the most violent drug conglomerates in the country called the Supreme Team. I did that for about 5 years, about five and a half years. I sold drugs, and then December 12th, 1986, my son was born, Corey Jr., and I made a decision as I was holding him at Brooklyn Hospital in my arms, saying what kind of man I'll be for him. I'm going to go to jail for 5 years, come home, they throw me a barbecue, or I'm going to stay at home and take him to preschool and walk him into his first grade classroom. And I chose the latter. So about less than a year of him being born, I went to the U.S. Army, did 3.5 years, 3 years and 8 months in the military, came out. 6 months later, went into the New York City Police Department and pretty much went to the top of the food chain pretty quickly. I made executive with about 13 years on the job. I made captain, and I retired as deputy inspector. I was a commander of one of the most violent precincts of the city of New York. Actually, I'm the first black commanding officer in the history since 1865 to command 67 precinct in East Flatbush, Brooklyn. And along the way, I got my bachelor's, my master's, went to Columbia University, was a professor. Actually, I am a professor currently at Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn, New York. And wrote a book, a 2-time award-winning author, wrote a best-selling book called Once a Cop. I'm an expert witness. People hire me for cases, testify in court, and do a bunch of other stuff. But mainly, what I want people to get out of my story is don't let your past identify or define my future. And I know y'all have a copy of my book. If you look at the back of that book, that's me at 17 years old, standing in my high school hallway with $5,000 worth of jewelry on, a bunch of money in my pocket, but more importantly, a gun. And then you flip it over to the front. That's me when I first made captain in the New York City Police Department. I was one of 13 black executives in the police department that had 40,000 people. I was able to tell 39,987 people what to do. So between that picture in the back and the picture on the front, when you read what's in the middle of that book, you're going to see a transformation of life. You know, the themes of the book are self-awareness, self-actualization, and transformation. And obviously, I talk about police policies and procedures, but overall, what I want people to get out of the book, again, is don't let your past identify or define your future.
Brother, you've come a very, very long way from a kid in high school to the front cover of a bestseller.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that it's laudable that you are sharing this story around the country, because you're on the circuit out there. You're on the speaking circuit out there. And I'm hoping at some points we can get you in the South, man, to kind of impart some of that wisdom, some of our young brothers and sisters here in the Memphis location, you know, in the Memphis area, man. It's tough out here.
Y'all got that money. Y'all got that money down there. Tell Penny Hardaway to cut a check. I'll be on the next thing.
That's my friend, brother.
We'll call him. As a matter of fact, we'll hold on the next break and we'll call him and get him down here. But I want to go back because you went.
Let me bring this thing right here. We are on Funky Politics, and it is always powered by the Kazuki Network. Go ahead, Doc.
Because you went back and you started talking about you started with Supreme Team, and we went through the whole thing pretty fast, so that people can really appreciate. The Supreme Team back in the 80s was one of the probably the premier organized crime groups in New York City as it related to narcotics game. And you're in this group, you're in this gang, or in this whatever it calls itself. You go from there to the United States Army, and from there to the police force. And a lot of people say, well, how did you get from Supreme Team to the police force, and no one ever knew anything about your background, or no one ever tried to check your background? Nobody. I mean, how did all that manage to even take place?
Well, I'm glad that you asked me this question. A lot of interviewers don't really ask that question as focused as you did. Well, the disqualifying factor for not being a cop is being convicted of a felony.
Right.
And I never was convicted. I was arrested, but I wasn't convicted of a crime.
Right.
So you could be arrested 100 times as long as you don't have no conviction. You're eligible to be a cop in the New York City Police Department.
Okay.
So it was pretty easy. You know, like there's a lot of rumors. I hid my background. I didn't hide my. They asked me when doing my investigation, you ever got arrested? I said, yeah, I got arrested. I gave them the paperwork.
Right.
I had to go to the court to actually prove and show them a disposition that I was never convicted of a crime. So I didn't lie. But one of the things that with young people in inner cities, you do things. I grew up with gangsters, pimps, and drug dealers. Those were my idols. That's what I grew up around. Today, it's a lot different. You got a lot more opportunities in front of you and a lot more heroes.
Sure.
So I didn't have nothing else to do. And the choice, again, was mine. They didn't put me in there. I decided to do it. But now when it was time for me to change my life, you think that I'm going to do an investigation for a police department, clear the hurdle, they tell me you're getting ready to be hired, and I'm going to go back and say, oh, by the way, let me tell you, I sold crack cocaine, I shot somebody, I sold drugs, I robbed people. No, I'm not doing that. Why would I go? Who in their right mind would go? Because if everybody in America that got a job told they passed, there will be no workforce in America. Because I'm not the only person that got something in my background.
Yeah, they say everybody's got something they're not putting on their resume.
Everybody got something. But, but the biggest thing is, look at the wonderful transformation of life. Absolutely. I am the poster child for transformation in the city for all these kids that they got boxed in and saying, you did this and this is where you are forever. You're never going to change. No, you show them Corey Pegues' story, show them my picture and say, no, he did it. You could do it.
Corey, I heard one thing.
That's why I told my story.
I heard one thing from you. I heard one thing. You said holding that baby boy of yours convinced you. Got to do something different, Doc. Got to do something different. Doc and I both have boys, so we all share this kinship, man. With our little black boys out there, man, they're eating them up left and right, left and right.
But the other thing that you also said though was that you were never convicted of anything.
Yeah.
And see, now there's such a rush, it seems, to put our boys in the system, so that they cannot be Corey Pegues saying I've never been convicted. So we've got to be diligent, and I'm just from talking to you, I know we got to be diligent about making sure that doesn't happen. But talk a little bit, because you decided that you wanted to go into law enforcement from being on the other side of the law, and you ascended through the ranks, obviously, because you said you had what 39,000 people reporting to you or something like that. I mean, wow, that's basically you're like a mayor, so to speak.
That's right.
In a lot of cities across America. But talk a little bit about. Now you are on the force, and you're doing everything. You're rising through the ranks, and the whole issue as it relates to what you're seeing out there that's happening in the street. What was that like as you started looking at things from that different lens?
Well, for me, it was it was like almost deja vu. Because remember, I was years removed.
Right.
Just a few years removed from running these streets of the city of New York. So it was easy for me to bridge the gap between community and police because I understood circumstance. You know, there's a story in the book where I was in Queensbridge Projects, and we all know that's where the great rapper Nas is from. That was my beat. And I remember throwing the kid against the wall. I forget whatever the reason was, but I searched his pockets. I didn't search. I just patted him down, and I could feel crack cocaine in his right pocket, maybe about 5 or 6 vials. And at that moment, I said, "Where's the gun? Yo, show me the gun. I want the gun. Where's the gun at?" He was like, "Man, I swear I ain't got no gun. We don't have no guns over here." And at that moment, I took my hands off him. I slapped him on the right side of his backside and said, "Get out of here. I don't ever want to see you out here again."
Wow.
So at that point, that decision, was I wrong? Technically?
Yeah.
Probably. Maybe when you're going right by the letter of the law. But for me, it was the same story in my book when I got caught with 300 vials of crack, and the cop threw the crack back to me and said, "Get out of here. Tell your boss I did him a favor."
Wow.
300
vials of crack.
You know,
wow.
Not that I was, you know, that's not corruption what I did, but it was maybe that guy grew up to kill people. I don't know. But maybe he turned out to be Corey Pegues.
But it was the familiarity that you had with that young man. I can guarantee you that on the other side of town somewhere in Bed-Stuy, there's a cop there that's doing the same thing for some cat that's running around doing something.
And on the reverse,
I didn't reach in his pocket. Right, I didn't reach in his pocket and find a kilo of cocaine. 5 vials of crap, that's sneaker money.
Yeah.
I knew that because I needed sneakers way back then, just 5 years prior.
And that's why it's so important to have people that can identify with the folks out here that I wouldn't say necessarily committing crimes, folks that are trying to get over. Because society has dealt us a blow, particularly in a lot of instances with African American people, where they feel like there's a way to get over. Is it the right way? No. But you have to have people in law enforcement to have that level of understanding.
That's why you hear the first here on Funky Politics. You know what? Funky Politics, folks. Yeah. On the Kazuki Network.
So talk a little bit about Combat Jack and that show, because I think you got a lot. I want our listeners to understand you got a little flack from things that were said on there.
A little flack?
A little flack. A little tip.
I was going to say, he's being so generous.
Yeah, a little
nice. Professor, he being nice, ain't he?
A little tip. Got into a little tip with the force over there. So, so could you reflect on that a little bit, and we can move on?
Yeah, so what a lot of people don't know until they buy the book, I wrote my own book. I wrote my own story. There's no ghostwriter there. So I was shopping for a deal 2 years. I couldn't get a deal. It's hard. It's like the music industry. You're trying to get a deal, you can't.
Sure.
It's like you're trying to get a radio show. It's hard.
Yeah.
You got to know somebody, pay to play, all of that nonsense.
Yep.
So Combat Reggie, he had the #1 hip hop podcast in America.
Right.
And God bless the dead, my lawyer, one of the top entertainment attorneys, Ed Woods.
May he rest in peace as well.
Reggie's my man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Reggie's my man. Introduced me and Reg, said, "Yo, I'm gonna put you on his show." Reg got the #1 show. If this don't work for us, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Right.
So I made a decision. Now I'm gonna jump off the roof. I'm jumping off the building on this show. And if you heard the interview, you see I jumped off the building.
Yeah. You not only jump off the roof, you jumped into the water.
Yeah, but what people don't realize, I didn't jump off a building with a parachute. I knew that my pension was protected.
Right.
You know, I knew all of these things before I did my research. I mean, I was a hustler. You just don't jump off a building without a parachute. So I knew I was going to cause a whole bunch of controversy, but I didn't realize I was going to be on the front page of one of the top New York City newspapers, and the story ran on me for 5 days straight.
Yeah, I looked at the Post.
Say that word.
Yeah,
I refused to say that word. But yeah, I was on the front page of this New York periodical,
right?
And ended up being the lead story for 5 days.
Wow,
it was amazing.
Wow.
I mean, they had me on the front page next to Derek Jeter.
Yeah, it was his last game or something like that. He was getting ready to retire.
It was his last, exactly.
You on the level of Derek Jeter, Doc. That ain't bad right there. You know what I'm saying? Ain't bad.
And they knew how to sell newspapers.
Sure they did, yeah.
I don't know who sold it more, me or Derek. But I caught a whole lot of flack. But you know what? The other piece to that people don't know, we laugh and joke, but what people don't know, this go back to the book deal.
Right.
Once I did Reggie's show, and they put me on the front page within 2 weeks, I had the top 10 publishers in the world doing an auction for my story. Random House, Doubleday, Simon & Schuster,
wow.
Grant House, All of them. Nobody knows that. They just kept seeing stories, negative stories about me. But the publishing industry was like, whoa, we need this story and we need it now. So on a Friday from 12 to 2 p.m., we sat in my book agent's office, Foundry Literary Media, and they did an auction. And Simon & Schuster imprint, Atria Books, came out with the biggest deal, well, the best deal. Yeah. They ain't even offer the most money, but they had the best deal.
Best deal. Wow.
And just such as your life has been, out of the ashes comes the phoenix.
That's right, man.
That's who you are.
Yeah.
You are the phoenix.
Man, you something else.
You are the phoenix, and we are the funk, and we got everything right here on Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network.
DC and Doc Ward on Funky Politics.
Grind Fed. I'm your host, Cynthia Daniels.
And I'm your co-host, Williams Brack.
So we're going to be interviewing business owners about their journey. What made them leave their 9-to-5 and just go out and create their own brand?
I think sometimes we overplan things and that can kind of cause a delay or setback. But I would definitely say dive in, get your name started, get your website up, get your business cards.
Grind Fed.
Sponsored by Epicenter, powered by the Kazuki Network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Play, and many of your podcast providers.
Grind Fed.
Politics is what we do. We just make it funky. Powered by MLG&W, Memphis Light Gas and Water.
We're back right here on Funky Politics on the Kazuki Network. You got your boy here, DC, sitting along with Doc Ward, and we've been talking to this brother out of New York.
The NYC.
The NYC, brother Corey Pegues, a noted author, speaker, professor. I got to get into with all his dudes, man.
Yeah.
This brother's a professor as well, McGarris, right? So.
Yes.
And also a retired executive with the New York Police Department.
Yes.
Who has brought a lot of what can you say over the last 2 years? He's brought a lot of sunlight to policing.
A lot of interest.
Yeah, a lot of interest, and I think sunlight as well.
Right.
To policing, not only in New York, but if it's in New York, it's pretty much in Chicago and all these other markets. So welcome back to the program now, Brother Pegues. We're going to pick right back up with some very essential things we just got to get into, man. We got to get into this thing. So welcome back.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about this book. You want to go in just a little bit on this book here. Once a copy. I know it's a couple years old, but how have you been received in the city of New York since all of this has happened?
Right.
Since the podcast, since the book is on the shelves and it's one of the top bestsellers out there. I'm assuming that you don't go to the Benevolent Association picnic anymore, right?
No,
you know them boys. Shit, your hot dog might be something else, dog. You better watch out.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what's funny? I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna keep it to you. If you did any research on me, I keep it. It's black or white. You either love me or hate me. And I'm gonna tell you that whole New York Post and all that. That was fed by a bunch of racist white cops that wanted to try to knock me down. Mm-hmm. And it is what it is, because I've been dealing with racism my entire life, especially working at NYPD for 21 years. If you read in my book, I got more than a few issues with the racism that I had to deal with as I was climbing through the ladder. Mm-hmm. So for me, it doesn't really matter. Policing was just a part. I'm a hustler, so I grew up poor. I was poor. I was I hustled in the street. That hustle was over. I closed the door. I went to the Army, left there, closed the door, went to policing. I'm done now. Now I'm a motivational speaker and an author. That police life is closed. Right. And all I'm doing now is speaking out, because I have an expertise. So a lot of times, I see cops all the time. So I don't know how to answer your question, because every time I see the cops, they're hugging and kissing on me. So I don't know if they like me or they don't. I don't really know. People always ask me, how did the cops receive you? I don't go to, police ordained functions, but I see cops all the time.
Now you said they are hugging and kissing you, right? That isn't that double jaw, that isn't that double jaw kiss like the Godfather. Yeah, watch out for that, brother. Yeah, watch out.
Yeah, they give me the good kiss in the back kiss, but you know what? For me, it doesn't even really matter. I'm so focused on doing me and what I'm doing. Right. I just flick the haters off my shoulders.
God got you, brother. God got you. God got you, brother.
Well, and we get straight real, so we're gonna put on scuba dive and go deep. I mean, we just because you talked about racism, which is probably the whole issue of why the book was received the way that it was, New York Post, blah blah blah. But I don't think anyone has to guess that there's racism amongst the police officers. Yes, there is, but the sociology behind policing is the thing that bothers me. We've had several young African American men killed unjustifiably. Okay, you know, I'm an attorney by trade. I know we got to go through courts of law. I'm going to tell you it's murder. It's what it is. Period. I don't care if it's documented as such or not. But in the sociology of policing, how in the world do we get to this point to where this becomes something that is so easy for men and women? Yes, because Oklahoma tells that's a woman. Men and women
Dallas,
to
Texas.
do. Dallas, Texas is a woman. Why is it so easy for men and women who's supposed to be protecting law and order? Why is it so easy to do that to us when they're supposed to pass psychological evaluations, situational evaluations, all the other checkpoints they have to go through to make sure they're mentally fit to protect? How does it get to be so easy for a police officer to pull out a gun, murder someone for which they have done nothing wrong, and there's nothing that they can find on that person to make them that would justify it?
Well, the first thing I got to tell you is you right on all those salient points that you hit, and the second thing we have to realize, if we don't know, the stuff that's happening today is not new.
Sure.
The only difference now between 10 years ago is cell phone footage and body cameras is exposing it now. Right. It's been happening. You got to understand, before there was cameras, cops to kill an unarmed person, they controlled the narrative. They would say he or she reached for what we appear to believe is the gun. We as the citizens give the cops, the utmost respect and say we believe, if that's what they said, well, Rakim should have never reached in his waist. But he never reached. If dead men could talk, do you know how many cemeteries in America is filled with unarmed black men and women being killed in cold blood without making any further movement to cops? So this is not a new phenomenon. So we need to put that right out. This is not new. I was in policing for 21 years. I know that they controlled the narrative back then, but they can't control it now. In the next 10 years, policing is going to change dramatically because of social media and because of cameras. It's going to change, I believe, on two folds. It's going to change where less people are getting killed by the police, but I also believe that more cops are going to be in danger because they're taking a more of a hands-off approach where sometimes they really might have to take action and they don't, and that one split second could be life and death for them.
Wow. And I've heard someone say that before, but I've got to go back to this whole sociology of it. So are you telling me that there are police officers there, and let's not talk about just those white officers shooting African Americans. You got African American officers also. That's why I said the sociology, because it's not just a racist thing, because if that were the case, then you wouldn't have the latter. So the sociology of a police officer that would go after even people of his own race who there's supposed to be familiarity, how does that come to be?
Well, I'm going to tell you, so in any culture there's a subculture. So in the police subculture, what you'll believe is this blue wall. I'm my brother's keeper, no snitching, you do something, I got you, you're always going to be able to get away with it. That's the subculture of policing. And some people that look like you and me, they buy into it, and they go along with it. Now, the only reason around America that a cop should be using deadly physical force is if deadly physical force is being used against you or someone else imminently.
Yeah. Right.
Imminently.
Meaning so right now at this moment. Right now at the moment.
Right now, if it's with a garbage can, a pitchfork, or a gun, right now you're getting ready to kill somebody, the citizens of the country give you the right to take that life because it's justifiable. So what's happening, these cops are getting off on this. One other thing that cops got and people don't understand is cops get off when they say, I was in fear of my life. Which juries, so now when this stuff is presented in front of juries, I can't predict when you was in fear or not.
Right.
That's correct.
It's subjective as hell.
You can't.
Is that Heller? Who is that? Is that the case study on that, case law on that?
I don't know what the case law is, but I know that's about as subjective as you can be. Sure. I can say I'm in fear of my life at any given moment.
Wow.
At any given moment. But in policing, you got to start holding these cops. I mean, look at this poor young man that was in his apartment in Dallas, Texas.
Yes.
Killed by that cop. I don't know. There's a black police chief female that's been there less than a year, and I don't even know how the hell she got in that position. I'm a leader. Leadership is top down. It ain't never bottom up.
Right.
She has watched this investigation from the moment that it happened. One, I don't even know why she handed it off. Why you hand it off? It's your case.
Yeah.
It's yours. Handle it. It's Dallas. Why you doing a handoff to the state troopers who has a history of covering up police departments?
Yes, sir. Preach, doctor, preach.
That's the number one thing. Two, why wasn't this woman terminated? She should be terminated. They do that to black cops all the time. Terminate, you sue to get your job back.
Right.
But we're going to hold on to her. We're going to hold on to all investigations. There's nothing else you need to know. He was in his apartment. He was killed in cold blood. He ain't leave his apartment. You didn't find no weapons. You found marijuana. So, well, he smoked weed. Everybody smoked weed. That ain't nothing new.
Yeah.
But what does that have to do with him being murdered? Fire him.
Let me ask you this, and I want to go there. I want to go there. What is the solution? We have, if nothing, there's a perception. And a lot of us who have these black boys, and myself and Doc, we've got boys, right? And mine is quite a bit older than his. But how do we feel comfortable anymore? I tell my son all the time, he likes to hang with his buddies. Now, they live in a pretty decent area, right? I said, Daryl, don't have any more than 2 or 3 guys in the car. You just can't do it, baby. And then, all that loud music, you're just a target, man. You're a target for somebody. Now, he goes, I'm not going to tell you what suburb, but it reminds you of Germantown. But anyway, so my point is how do we, or what is the solution? Is it more in-depth training? Is it sensitivity training? What the hell is it?
Well, I'm an advocate. I'm the only one in America that's saying, I'm taking training off the table. I don't hear nothing about training. Because the first time that you tell cops they need training, you know what? When they kill somebody unarmed and the community screams out training, you know what these cops think? And they go, yeah, we got it. So now they're going to put together some bullshit training to satisfy you.
Yep.
When my position as an executive of 21 years is, let's hold the cops accountable for the training that you gave them. Forget the new training.
Wow. Or better yet, if they shoot somebody and they say, well, I didn't get the training that I was supposed to get, now all of a sudden it's the force's fault.
And if it's documented, terminate his ass.
Yeah.
The cops are getting the training. So we got to stop using training. They're getting it.
Right.
These cops are getting hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of training. Again, firearms training, use of force training, verbal judo, conflict resolution. They're getting the training.
Sensitivity.
So if they're not going by the numbers, like sometimes you have to go right to Z, meaning you got to shoot. You walk into a building, somebody pull a gun out, you got to shoot them right.
Right.
But most of these, you got to go with ABC. What happened to ABC? Verbal command, mace, slap, kick, punch, nightstick, then gun. Like, what happened to all of that before you went right to gun?
Well, we got the CDA happening.
Oh, I know what happened. I know what happened. I was in fear of my life.
Yeah.
So now it's defense of self. So I can go straight to Z when I say I'm in fear of my life. But that begs the question.
You could go straight to Z when you know that you got your police department that's going to coddle you.
Right. But then my question is going to be, was the fear reasonable? Because I'm asking, why are you a police officer on the force if you're walking around in this much fear? I'm not saying that you're supposed to be necessarily braver than the next fear. A little well-founded fear is good for everybody. Yeah. But if you got to be in this much fear just to do your job, discharge your duty, then maybe you need to be doing something else.
But these police departments got to start really drilling these guys down. Let's be quite clear. Every cop ain't built to be a cop. Every doctor ain't built to be a doctor, lawyer, radio dispatch. Some people are going to slip through the system. But we can't have this many people doing all of these things that everybody... It's like the Tamir Rice case.
Right.
The cop that killed Tamir Rice, 9 years old, he was fired from the police precinct the next town over 2 weeks ago. You know what he was fired for? Because he couldn't shoot his gun properly.
Wow.
But they didn't know that. He got hired 2 weeks later from another municipality and killed a 9-year-old kid that it wasn't doing anything.
Without hesitation, by the way.
But there's no uniform computer system where you could throw in Corey Pegues. Oh, he retired in 2013. There's no if you don't have that, then that's why these cops. You'll see a cop that retired after 20 years. He worked in 8 police departments. Right. He jumped over it because he got in trouble on this one. They said, get out, but they don't fire you. They make you put in a resignation so you could get another police job.
Right. Give you an opportunity.
And they keep passing you along, and then you end up having an Eric Garner incident. the Tamir Rice, Terrence Cruncher. You know, I could go on and on.
So,
you know,
but it's not the training piece, is what you're saying. It's not the training piece.
I'm not buying the training.
Yeah.
What it is when you are in leadership positions, you got to make sure that the community understands and knows that you, as the leader, are going to hold the cops accountable. All people want, black, white, Chinese. I don't care if a green cop work in my community. Right. I just want us to treat us with respect. Wow. So it's just like the Pantaleo, Officer Pantaleo killed Eric Garner.
Right.
When you look at his background, he's getting sued for $22.8 million. Mm-hmm. He got 15 complaints. He already got use of force. How did he get all of that, and you have him running around the streets of Staten Island in plain clothes? Where's the leadership? Did anybody pull and say, hey, what the hell is going on? We can't have this guy running around the street in plain clothes, throwing people against the wall. So he's a risk to the department.
It starts from the top down.
Top down. The leadership, that's the leadership.
The leadership has to take responsibility for his troops.
I'm going to terminate you, and then I'm going to let you fight to get it back. Like you said on that other part, I'm going to terminate you, and then you fight to get it back. That's how it works, Doc. That's how it works.
That's what they do to brothers and sisters. I'm telling you, they do it all the time. Fire you, and if you could come up with $30,000-$40,000 to get your job back, we give it to you.
Yeah. But you got
some
officers.
You ain't got the 30, 40. You ain't got the money to get the lawyer to do 2, 3, 4 years.
And so you're waiting on the union. You're waiting on the union to support you.
But some of these folks, this is their first offense. For some people that are committed. So how do you manage to regulate the situation or prevent the situation from occurring with those folks?
It's like with my kids. I tell my kids, I got you. If it's a mistake of the heart or the mind, it's two different things.
That's right.
If you sat and thought about it, there's a mistake of your mind, I'm going to get you. You are mine. Mm-hmm. But if it's an honest mistake from your heart, are there going to be cops? Some cops going to get into a shooting. And it might be a gray area, but if you believe that was just a mistake of the heart, it's no way that the community, when you put all the facts out there and they look at it and say, oh, man.
Transparency, Doc.
Transparency. That's everything. Transparency.
And
if
leadership.
You're not doing that, it's leadership. It's top down. It's like when I first became commander of the 67th Precinct, the chief called me and said, you need to sit down, Joe Smith. He got 2 years on the job. He got 14 complaints of physical force. I said, what? So I sat him down. I worked in this 99% Caribbean community, all black. He was Irish, brand new Irish cop. I sat him down. I said, Bobby, what's going on here? He says, I didn't understand the people when I first got here. And you know what that said to me? He was afraid of black people. So I got it. And I said, well, do you see me? I said, I'm here now. I'm here. Those black and brown, they look like me. I understand you didn't get it, but you got to get it real quick. And I grabbed his sergeant. I said, listen, this is your new partner now. He eats, sleep, and drink with you all day. And the first person he hit, you're going to have to deal. I ain't even dealing with him because he getting fired. You're going to have to deal with him. Wow. But that's leadership.
That is leadership, Doc. You ain't telling one lie.
That's what it takes. I think the world could use a little bit of that right now. But I'm going to ask you this, though. Yeah. What's on the horizon for you? Because your future is still bright. You're still dynamic, still change. What's on the horizon for you now? Surely you've got something coming up in the works.
Yeah, well, right now, I got the documentary out on theguardian.com called Cops and Robbers Story. That was just a snippet, a 20-piece snippet, and the next year we'll be releasing a full documentary called A Cops and Robbers Story by Vernon Films.
Sure.
I have some aspirations of maybe possibly running for mayor in the town that I live in. There's an exploratory committee asking me to run for mayor, and I have a lot of things in Hollywood. Hollywood is knocking on the door for me to do some really, really big things that people going to turn on their television
on the door.
and see. So
open the door, Doc. Open the door.
So we're working. I'm just blessed. To have an opportunity.
Wow. Do we need to have you come back soon and tell us what's because you said knocking on the door after you answer the door? Do we need to have you come back and talk about it?
What was on the other side of that door?
Yeah. we love it when folks break news on Funky Politics.
We love to see our people go higher, and higher,
especially when they're real leaders.
Yeah,
and they give it to us real.
Let me tell you something, Brother Pegues. You have done us a phenomenal job here today, man. Our listeners are going to be able to take away from this conversation something I think is going to stick with them. Man, I tell you, we enjoyed you. Do come back here on Funky Politics.
Yes, I appreciate it.
We appreciate you. We're looking forward to following you and hanging in there with you, man. You're our guy.
Make sure the people follow me on my Instagram and on Facebook. Facebook is my name, Corey Pegues, and Instagram is my first initial and last name.
We got it.
Thank you so much.
We got it. We thank you.
Right here on the Kazuki Network.
Funky Politics.
Politics is what we do. We just make it funky. Powered by MLG&W, Memphis Light Gas and Water.
Grind Fed. I'm your host, Cynthia Daniels.
And I'm your co-host, Williams Brack.
So we're going to be interviewing business owners about their journey. What made them leave their 9-to-5 and just go out and create their own brand?
I think sometimes we overplan things, and that can kind of cause a delay or setback. But I would definitely say dive in, get your name started, get your website up, get your business cards.
Grind Fed.
Sponsored by Epicenter, powered by the Kazuki Network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Play, and many of your podcast providers.
Grind Fed.